ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
Yesterday we saw the two aspects of the world. There is the objects and there is a word. And then we also saw that when you read the objects as effect, karya as effect, when you see, the object and the word becomes one and the same. What we saw is that the pada and padartha becomes the same. There is only pada. When we say that, what we mean is there is only pada, there is only a word. Factually, there is no difference. The example we saw is the gold and the ornaments. Ornaments are just words. The pada there is the essential, that padartham that is there is only the gold. The essential thing is gold. How we understand the whole analysis is, in any creation, we try to understand the upadana karanam, the material. And then there has to be a creator. And then there has to be an instrument of creation. All this. But essentially, our focus right now is only on what is the material. The example usually given is pot. There has to be a potter and he should be having a wheel. And he needs a clay. So there has to be a potter. Potter means a person with the knowledge of pot making. Understood that is. So there is a potter, there is a wheel, and there is a clay. Using the clay, using the wheel, he modifies the clay and makes it appear in a different form. That's where it becomes a pot. But essentially the material is what? There's only one, clay. There may be many pots, but the clay is one, which is the real material. Then you have many names to it. But all the names are what? Just names only. There is no real material being created. Same material in one particular shape, in one particular form, you give it a name. In another shape, another form, you give it another name. But that doesn't mean we have created a new material. Material has not changed. Material remains the same material, the clay. Similarly, when we observe this world, we say the world is created with so many objects. I'm going straight away to philosophy. I'm not giving any, preparation. I'm not preparing any one of you. I'm straight away getting into the material, to the idea. So move with me. Pot making means there are three things. In that, our analysis today is only with reference to the material. Upadana is what is known in Sanskrit as Upadana Karana, the material cause. What is the material cause with which the entire world is made up of? This is where we go to the scriptures. We can see the pots, but we do not know the clay. Right. Similarly, here we know the world, we don't know the material with which the world is made up of. The material with which the world is made up of is where the scriptures come and tell us that is Brahman, the self, God. Various words we use, Atman, consciousness. Each one will use different words according to their particular context and familiarity of those words. That's about it. But essentially, there is one material. The entire world is what? There is no Karana, there is only Karya. This is effect only. The entire world is effect. As we saw in the example, the effect when we say there is no new Padartha, there is only new Pada. Only words have come into picture. There is no new Padartha. There is only Pada, new word we have created because of its new form. That is what the whole world is referred as Nama Rupa. What is the whole world, sir? We say the entire world is what? Just names and forms. We have just given it a form name, but the Padartha is what? The essential material remains the same. That means that essential material should be having one name, isn't it? That one name is what is referred by the Shastras as Om. That one Pada, one sound. Om iti Brahma, it says, the Upanishads. That is called Brahman. What, sir? Om is the sound, out of which comes so many other dimensions of the things. Now this much we have seen. Now what we have to do is, the second inquiry is, this various sounds, various words that we have come to, all that is said only as one source. That one source is the Om, we say. How is what we have to see now. Why we take Om as such an important one, sir? Because various names means various padas we have got. Means we have used very many words. All these words stem from where? All the names, all the words that we are using, in any language for that matter, all that stems only from one sound called Akara. All that you have to do is open your throat and allow the air to flow without any interruption. You get the sound you get. You can try it at home. Now, you open your throat and say, throw the air out. When you are taking the air out and spelling it out, it comes as and then various modifications that we make in the mouth creates various other sounds. And finally, when you are closing the lips and still make the sound, you can make only one sound. So, entire sound possibilities starts with ends with and in between they found there is another sound which comes in the middle, that is U. Comes from the throat. U, when you say, it comes from the mouth. Closing your mouth. After no sound. Before A, there is no sound. Before A, there is no sound. After there is no sound. In between, one sound is there. Sample sound. Taken is U, because it comes in the middle of the mouth. The science of sound, when you study, they explain. Phonetics, when we study, they explain how the sound travels, the traveling of the sound. Since these are the essential three sounds that makes up to create all the sound possibilities, is the sound, primeval sound, say, natural sound. So many things we have started associating with that. That is the Om sound. So how we do the analysis? We start by analyzing the Jagat, world. World, when we said, we found there are so many objects. So many objects essentially has only one aspect, one material, therefore only one name. What is that one name? One side we do the analysis. Other side we said we also have so many names. All the sounds, all the names have a primeval one sound. Therefore what they say is, this one sound and reference to that one padartha, which is the essential material, and the essential sound are the same thing. That's all they have said. They don't think there is some mystical about it, all that. We have started thinking, when they said Om is the starting point of creation, they actually thought first one came the sound Om. Boom. Om sound came and then the whole thing. That's not what they are saying. What it means is only this. It means the essential one, when you analyze the padartha, you go to one side. You arrive at one essential padartha. When you do the names analysis, forms analysis, because Jagat is equal to name and form. So form analysis, you go to one essential. Name analysis, you go to one essential. This essential and that essential, they just equated it and said we use this essential sound to refer to that essential padartha, essential material. That's about it. And don't think there is something mystical about all this. This is more of a logical deduction. This is not a mystical sound being created and all that. And now we have started all sorts of things. Somebody is telling me, somebody had captured the sound emitted from sun, the sound emitted from moon, and they are trying to capture this and show. Now don't try to prove all this. There's no necessity for all those things as far as we are concerned. He said we don't need all these experiments for us to prove what is the value of it. We can understand from your own level. All that it requires is a little bit of application and thinking. Little thinking you do, you will get it. But of course, we can't do it on our own. If you ask me, Ishwaran, did you do it on your own? No, it's not done by me. I'm only stating what is given in the Upanishads. That's all. They have done it on behalf of you and me. And I got an opportunity to see that. Therefore, I am telling you all. That's the only thing. So it doesn't require some great, gadgets and all that piece. Then there are so many things got added to it. This is the basic thinking. Then we have very many aspects. Now, few of the dimensions we'll try to study now. Few aspects we'll see. What is this? Why they have taken the sound? Why these mantras are given so much of importance? The sound symbols have taken so much of importance, sir. Because we know this universe is made up of 5 basic elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. And we have 5 organs of perception to perceive those things. We hear the sound and you sense the air through your skin. Through ears, we hear the sound, which is in space. Now, some of us may wonder that in space, they say there is no sound at all. What is it? The sound which is not audible with our ears. But as you keep training your ears, you will be able to hear that's the sound. Now, fire you see through eyes, and water you taste through tongue. Now, in this, the sound can be contacted only by one sense perception, sense organ, only through ears. Same way, when you go to this air can be contacted by two senses, the skin and ears. When it comes to fire, three organs of perception can contact it. There is sound in fire, there is sense, you can touch it, you can feel it, and you can see it. When you go to water, four organs can contact. When you go to earth, all the five senses can contact. So they say there are five organs of perception, five perceptions, five elements. In this, the subtlest element is, subtlest perception possibility is sound, because only one organ can contact it. Okay. Now, the scriptures talk about God or Brahman, which is imperceptible, inconceivable. Right? You can't perceive Brahman, nor can you conceive Brahman. You can't understand it, nor can you see it. It's beyond perception, beyond feelings, and beyond any sort of conception possibilities. Since it is beyond all this, how are we to get in touch with that? So, they needed a symbol representing the idea. It's a representation. It is not that. It represents that. Exactly like your grandfather's photograph that you have in the house is not your grandfather. The grandmother's photograph that you have in your house is not your grandmother. But that photograph represents who? The grandfather and the grandmother. That is why if I do anything to that, you assume as though it is being done to them, isn't it? That is why you tell your son and saying what? Hey, you are going for examination. No, do pranams to your grandfather. He will bless you. He says the photograph is going to bless me. Now he can't understand. Why? Because he has not established a link. Remember that. He had neither met that grandfather, because before his birth the grandfather passed away. So there is no possibility for him to establish any link. Like, I remember my grandmother, but I don't remember my grandfather. Very vaguely I have idea of him. Very, very vague. it's just so hazy, I can't connect. But I have lived with my grandmother. Therefore, I have the ability to see the picture. The moment I see that picture of us, immediately I'm reminded of my grandma. Otherwise, I'm not able to. That's why the older generation people's ability to get inspired looking at Gandhiji's photograph vis-a-vis the current generation looking at Gandhiji's photograph is not the same. Why? Because the thought association has not been established. The link was not established. Now you got to establish a link. Without that link being established, you can't, it will not work in you. Like my grandmother's picture has some resemblance of my grandmother. Therefore, I'm able to establish. Okay. When it comes to my grandfather was under a great belief that if you take photograph, your life will reduce. So in his life, he has never taken a photograph. He was under that belief, it seems. If you take photograph, your eyes will come down. So he never allowed anybody to take picture of him. So when my grandfather, father passed away, it became very difficult, it seems, to my family to have a picture of his. And somehow they saw in one group photograph he was standing by mistake. He didn't knew they are taking a picture. So they took a picture of that and called one painter and asked him to draw. Correct. Now I ask you the quick question. The moment I say Buddha, all of you have an idea of him, no? Christ. When I say, all of us get an idea. Correct? A man with a frail body, tall, with beard, sharp nose. This is your idea of Christ. Has any one of us seen? No, nobody had seen. There is no picture of Christ. Nobody has painted Buddha when Buddha was there, actually taken a photograph of us. No. Then what is it? Today, the moment you see a picture of a person in that features, you say what? That's Buddha. This is Christ. How do you say that? Grandfather, very hazy. Grandmother, very clear. What about Buddha? That is why Buddha in India looks very different from Buddha in Japan. Which Buddha is correct? Buddha in India looks how? Broad shoulders, V shape, six packs, chiseled body. That is Buddha in India. Go to Japan. What is Buddha there? Short, stout, pot-bellied. That is Buddha in Japan. Now, which Buddha is correct? We have heard about Buddha. We have heard about Christ. But we cannot connect without creating a picture of that. We want something to visualize. So the people who heard create something. Now as we go into the hazier and hazier things, it is difficult to establish a link. Since it is difficult to establish a link, we need something to represent them. So one group of people took, which is the easiest one to represent, sir. Only 5 options available for us. What are the 5, sir? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Of the 5, the first element which is perceptible to eyes is fire. Therefore, many people took fire to be representing the ideal. Many religions have taken fire to represent the ideal. Some of them said, no, we will take from earth. We will create one and give. We will make one. We will make a form using the material from the earth. Let that material be from clay. Let the material be some metal. Let the material be wood. Whatever we don't care. There has to be a material to represent. That's why on top of church you find what? There is a cross. Cross represents what? To a Christian, cross represents the sacrifice, right? But for a Hindu, what is cross? That is what we say as you have to establish a link. That link establishment is necessary. Of the things, this found the sound, which is the subtlest of all the elements. Why subtlest? Because only one organ can contact. That's all. How we are saying it is subtle, sir? Because only one organ can contact. Grosser the things means more organs can contact. Therefore, the grossest one is what? The earth, material, objects. So the objects becomes the most grossest one. Subtler than that is water. Subtler than that is fire. Subtler than that is air. The subtlest is the sound. So they used the sound to represent the self. That which is beyond all sound. That is why of all the sounds, the primary sound is the three sounds. A, U, Combine the three, create that Om. Therefore, Om became the representative, as it were, of Brahman or God. Don't go about saying, Om is God, Om is God. It's not. It's exactly like saying that grandfather's picture is grandfather. Correct. From one angle, it is correct. From one side, it is correct. From the other side, what is it? It's not correct. The grandfather is not the picture. The picture is different. The grandfather is different. They are two different things. There is no connection between this and that. Now with grandfather, you may be finding this one. That is why I gave you the example of Buddha and Christ. If original Christ were to appear, how many of us will agree? If original Krishna were to appear, how many Indians will agree? No. The original Krishna has to come as N.T. Ramarao only. Only then you will accept. If original Krishna comes also, you will say, no, you are not, man. We prefer this Krishna better. N.T. Ramarao becomes a better one for us. We cannot connect to it. But at the same time, we want to establish a link. How to do that? They said there is a fantastic one. Then came very many associated ideas to it. The beauty of this sound is, now follow carefully. Now we are going into the study of sound. Now sound works in circular pattern. sight works on linear. That is why you can hear somebody speaking from behind you. Isn't it? How you are able to hear that? Because it moves in circle. It moves in circle. Therefore, you can hear. Point number 1. Second point you got to remember is the sound can be heard only in the backdrop of silence. If there is no silence in the background, you can't hear the sound. Now all of you are able to hear me, I suppose. How? Because in your surrounding there is no other noise. Imagine there is sound in other sides, you can't hear me. So, for the sound to get registered, what is essential requirement, sir? Silence becomes the essential requirement. Now, who is registering the sound? I am hearing the sound. If I am hearing the sound, then I have to be what? Two things. I should be the center and I should be silent. Isn't it? If I am not in the center, if I am not in the silence, hearing the sound is not possible. Correct? Now you have to hear all the sounds, any sound for that matter, not only Om, please. Any sound will do. We don't care about any particular sound. That's why in the Upanishads it says there are 170 ways of sounding Om, and each way of sounding it has a particular effect. We don't care which way you say. There are a lot of people who say that Om should be chanted as Om. Why? You are supposed to say as not Om. It has to be sounded as Om. And then there is another group of people who elongate more, who less, less. There are people who don't utter at all, who only they say. There are people who refer only. Now, we don't care about any sound. Any word, any sound will be okay for us. There is one philosopher who says of all the sounds, easiest one, the best one is your name, he says. Because what is that you love the most in your life? Rama you love the most, or your name you love the most? If somebody misspells your name, how annoyed you get? Particularly if they were to be writing a check on your name. If I were to write a check on your name with the misspelling, I write and give a check to you, get so annoyed. You say, what, idiot, write properly, man. Why? He says, even that sound will do, doesn't matter. Any sound is okay for us. Because essentially, all the sounds are nothing but what? The focus is not on the sound. The focus is through the sound to register the soundless. Now the chanting of Om, understanding Om, all these mantras, all that mantra, I'm just using any mantra you can take now. It doesn't matter. Any mantra you take, essentially our focus is only on which part? Not on the sound. essential focus is on the silence. The silence that is existing before the sound, silence that follows the sound, the silence that exists during the sound. I repeat, your focus essentially is to capture that silence which is before, after, and during the sound. But directly you cannot connect to the silence. That's where the problem is. This is where a lot of people say, see, essentially you have to go silent only. No. Therefore, why not start from silence from today itself? So what you should do? Quietly sit. It's not possible. Why, sir? Because right now, where are you? That's what we saw yesterday. Sounds, give it a particular meaning, becomes a word. The sequence of words becomes thoughts. The thoughts becomes your ideas. Now from ideas, for you to get back to that silence, how far you have traveled? From silence, sound, word, thought, idea. So much you have come. Okay, you take thought and idea, both are same also, even if you take. Because there is another group of people who can say that both are same. No, correct. Okay. Now, where are you standing right now? Right now, you are standing with so many thoughts. From thoughts, for you to straight away jump into that state of silence, thoughtlessness, is not possible. Why? Because when you keep on hearing, now those who have lived near, the railway tracks will know this. I had the experience of that. We stayed on the, parallel, perpendicular to a railway track. Every day, when we shifted from, Mylapore to, Tambaram Sanatorium, I had this trouble at least. Finding it difficult to sleep in the night because that's a heavy traffic route. Every 15-20 minutes there will be a train passing. That sound, which I have hardly heard when I was living in Mylapore. When I shifted there, for about a month or two, it was very difficult for me to sleep in the night. Because suddenly, that railway track, sound, the train goes, and invariably they'll horn. And the train horns. Scaring. Suddenly when you are fast asleep, you get that sound. You feel so uncomfortable waking up. Took me about 2 months. After 2 months, what happened? Strangely, I was sleeping aram se. There is no problem at all. Pakka sleep I was having, First 2.5 months only I had this trouble. After that, aram se sleeping. No issues. After some time, we shifted from there. After about 1.5 years also, we shifted from Tambaram Sanatorium to Krompet. When we shifted from there to Krompet, again for 2 months I was finding it difficult to sleep in the night. I said, again what happened to me? I thought maybe it's because of the pressure of college education and all those things. I say, that's only problem for people who want to score. No. I say, what is my problem? I said, we never have that problem. What happened? I said. Then I realized what is happening in the night is I was missing that sound of the train. The train sound I'm missing. So difficult to sleep now. When you are hearing now, you will be hearing this, like when you see a person constantly sitting on a chair, right? Anytime you go, you see the man sitting on the chair. I understood this only when I went to my grandfather's house. My grandfather would always sit in that one place in the house. He will go inside only to get ready and get out, or he will get inside the house only to eat. Otherwise, whole day he will be sitting outside. He comes back from his work, means he will be there. Or else we can be sure either he is sleeping, eating, or he has gone for nature's call. That's all. Otherwise, where is he, sir? He's there constantly. After that, my grandfather passed away, it became very difficult. Anytime I go there, I see that place. I was doing what? Sir? I had started seeing the absence of him. First, I was seeing the presence of him. Now, what is it? The absence of him now. Earlier, it is he is there. Now, what is it, sir? He, the absence. That's all. Otherwise, it remains the same thing actually. Very, very interesting experience that was. Initially, you see the presence. Initially, you will be hearing the sound. After some time, you will continue to hear. Not that you will stop hearing. You will continue to hear. What? The absence of it now. Absence of the sound means what? Sound and then say no. Sound and then say no. Absence means that, remember. Absence of that means what? When I say don't smoke, you say what you do first. First, you visualize smoking and then you will say what? Don't do that. And I say don't drink. What do you visualize first? First, you visualize drinking and then you say what? No. No drinking is impossible for you to understand without visualizing drinking. No smoking cannot be visualized unless you see smoking. This is the problem of this mantras. That is why it demands a very high level of training for you to practice. Now these mantras were analyzed in the Vedas from two angles. One is done as upasana. Another one is for vicharam, for inquiry. Mantras were given for these two purposes only. One purpose of that is for upasana, for practice. Then another one is given to you for the purpose of inquiry, vicharam. Without you doing a complete inquiry into it, it is not recommended to plunge into the upasana of it, practice of it. That is what we are doing now. We're trying to spend as much time as possible to understand what that mantra is. Try to understand it from various angles. Try to capture it from different aspects. More and more you do this, one thing will happen. What, sir? Intellectually you will understand one aspect of it. But when it comes to the upasana dimension of the mantra, there is no necessity for you to understand the mantra, because every sound has got two dimensions to it. One is articulate sound, another one is inarticulate. Say for example, when you go for music, right? Music program, when you go, there are three aspects to music. One is the meaning of the song, right? First one is what is the meaning of the song. Then there are rules of music, the laws of music. Then you have the very melody, the very sound of the song, or the raga. Correct? When you go to a music concert, you can concentrate on whether this man is capturing all the nuances of Kalyani Raga, Shankarabharanam Ragam, right? Bhairavi Raga. Is he capturing that? You can concentrate on that. Or you can concentrate on the meaning of the song. Who is he talking about? What is the song saying? There is a third group of people who go for music concert. They don't know the language in which the song is written, nor they know the raga, which raga it is, from this raga, that, all those things they don't know. But they just go, sit, listen to the song, and just sheer melody of that, the sheer sound of it is enchanting for them. If you ask me, sir, who will enjoy maximum? Where is a maximum enjoyment? When you have all three, knowledge, maximum enjoyment. Isn't it? When you understand Diti Chala Suhama, just the words are superb. Right? But when you understand the laws of music, much better. If you can have all three, well and good. Suppose if you have only one of the three, which one is the most important one, sir, of these three things? We say your ability to connect to the sound of music. If you cannot connect to the sound of music, you can't enjoy. That's what we see when you go to any music concert. 90% of the meaning of the songs we don't know. Most people don't know which raga the fellow is singing also, but they enjoy it. How they are able to enjoy it? Which is what we call as the third dimension of it. So every sound, say, there are two aspects to it. One is the articulate. Then you have the other one, which is the inarticulate portion of it. Articulate sound is where the words got formed. Words come from articulate sound. Then thoughts. Then ideas. This is one direction. And that is where we have all the talking, everything. Let's say we see a man who is blind and a person who is dumb. The deaf and dumb person looks inhuman. You see, he finds more difficult to live in the society, whereas a blind person can see that, isn't it? A blind person can become a leader. Have you ever seen any organization or anywhere in the world a dumb person becomes a leader? Not possible. Why? Because we have built the society around what? The society was built. Nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying something wrong with those people. What I'm saying is, the society that we have built it was built around what? Around words. The one who is able to speak more eloquently looks far more attractive, isn't it? Which dimension, sir? All this is coming from the dimension of what? Words with a particular meaning. That's why, however eloquent I am in Chinese language, is of no use to you when I am talking to you people, because I don't know how many of you know that language. So if I speak in that, you will see that as what? No. For you and me to interact, our interaction became more sound, words oriented. You may be wondering, sir, why you have to do all this analysis now? Straight away give the mantra, let us start practicing. No, becomes easier. It will not work for you. Why? Because you are not trained to do away with this articulate sound, words. What is the proof, sir? This is the proof. The proof is human beings live more at the level of the tongue than the eyes. The moment I have to interact, if I have to receive the world into me, or I have to go into anything, to go out, I need only the tongue. Tongue means what? Not making any sound. No, not any sound will work for me. Only the sound which is having a particular meaning, which is called a language. That's why language proficiency becomes such an important thing for us. The one who has a better vocabulary, the one who is having the better capacity to communicate, we're able to relate to that person much better, much easier, than to a person who is struggling with words, than a person who is not able to say any word. Even a blind person, we don't have that much of a problem to relate to. But a dumb person, we find it very difficult to relate to. Why? Because we live more at the level of words. That is why even our thinking is only with reference to words. That's why more words you have, better thinking you get. The thinking gets much better with more words. Lesser the words, lesser the thinking. No words, no thinking. No sounding, no. Sound will be there. But what sort of a sound will be there, sir? The sounds which are all inarticulate in nature. This inarticulate dimension of sound relates to your feeling domain. Articulated sound relates to your thinking domain. Right? Your sound, which is inarticulate in nature, relates to your feeling domain, this mantra concept developed around more of the feeling domain concept, where I can have a feeling. A particular sound I create, that sound creates a particular feel in me. Or to express a particular feeling, I create a particular sound. You can take it either way. It works on both sides. A particular sound triggers a particular feel. Some of you may say, I don't believe in all these things, Ishwara. I tell them how you will hear the sound of scratching the nail against wall. Vis-a-vis a flute music. Hari Prasad Saurasi has flute. And the nail scratching or the steel chair being pulled on the floor. That sound. How you get it? There is no meaning to it. But it triggers a sense in you, isn't it? A particular feel in you. Similarly, when you experience a particular feeling also, you will create that particular sound. You say, isn't it? Both are sound only. Correct? You understand what? First one, you understand what? Wow, he is appreciating something. Another one is what? He is disturbed or he is not appreciating. He is there is a sort of resentment. This is what you see in the second sound. Now you can't say both are same. The feel is very different. Now, we need to be creating a sound which should be having a articulate as well as inarticulate reference. What we call as intonational value. The inarticulate is what is referred as intonational value also by few people. When I'm using this sound, Om, it has both the aspects. One dimension of Om is it has an articulate meaning. Also, it has an intonational value. By intoning that sound, it creates a feel in you. You can just say, in fact, we do that naturally. If a person is having a high fever, see what they do. They go on saying, they feel so soothing, when they say, when you have high fever, as you hear the person saying, they feel a sense of relief. Just that sound. The sound has a value. We can't deny that. And of all the sounds, they said this Om has a fantastic meaning. That is why they went up to the extent of saying the entire Veda is only Om. What is the entire Veda is Om, sir? What do you mean by that? It means Vedic chantings were all nothing but what? Only two dimensions to it. One aspect of the Vedic chanting is the meaning. Second one is the very sound. Both are there. Articulate as well as inarticulate. Articulate one requires a training. Inarticulate one doesn't require a training. Anybody can understand. See, you don't need a special training for that. Articulate sound only requires a training. This doesn't require a training. This we can understand straight away. Since the entire Vedas nothing but all the knowledge possibilities packed. They said Om represents the entire Veda. That's all. Because of these two reasons. Because it has international value as well as it has this. Therefore, any Vedic mantra you have to chant, they say you have to chant with Om only. No chanting should start without Om. You have to utter Om and then do the chanting. And then you can. So any mantras you will find there is a beginning. For beginning is this Om. Now why we have this Om, sir? What is the representation of it? We say the articulate aspect of it, one dimension of this is meaning, is the three sounds A, U, represents all sound possibilities, therefore it represents all the words possibility. All words means all thoughts, all ideas, all knowledge. That is one line of thinking. So A, U, all sound equals all words equals all knowledge possibility in any language for that matter. One side. Then they said this A, U, has got another aspect also, which represents the three states of consciousness that we experience. The waking, the dream, and the deep sleep. Waking, dream, deep sleep. All three were represented by this word A, U, A represents the waking state of consciousness. U represents the dream. Represents the deep sleep. Why is it? All this, all letters, all sound starts with A. Our entire analysis started from where? Waking state. We have started this analysis in which state, sir? Waking state. Therefore, we take the first state is a waking state of consciousness. Then there is nothing beyond that deep sleep. Deep sleep is dreamless sleep, where there is nothing. It's nothing. Now, in after what is it? Nothing. No sound possibility. So, once you get into that's the end of it. There's nothing after that. So, they took that to represent the deep sleep state. A is a waking state. Why, sir? Because it's the starting point. Starting point of what? Starting point of our entire thinking. The entire analysis started from waking only. Therefore, we take that as A. Deep sleep is taken to be Why? Because the final stage where the mind is at rest. That's why when you have a sound sleep, you are refreshed. You feel fresh. When you wake up from deep sleep, you feel refreshed. Many times we don't wake up fresh. Why? Because hardly we get into deep sleep state. Most of the time we are in the dream state only. We never hit the deep sleep for a longer period of time. The longer duration you are able to stay in deep sleep state, your system will get refreshed. So, is the representative of this. Why, sir? Because it is coming as a last one After there is not. Now the dream is appearing where? Between. Similarly, the sound U also appears between A and N. Since it appears in between, they took U to be representing the deep sleep state. So A represents waking state, U represents dream state, N represents deep sleep state. A, U, N. Now, there is a silence behind that sound, isn't it? A, U, N. The sound is existing there in silence. That silence is represented by, or the self is represented by the silence, what is known as amatra. You don't have to worry about the words. Okay. The sound is this, the three, A, U, N, representing waking state of consciousness, dream state of consciousness, and deep sleep state of consciousness. The silence which is in the backdrop represents the pure consciousness, referred as Turiya in Vedanta, the fourth plane of consciousness, which is the substratum on which all the three states are resting. The three states, it needs a foundation, no? It's resting where? The resting place of this three is the silence. What is representing the silencer? That amatra. So every time when a person is chanting Om, he reminds himself of what? All the knowledge possibilities compressed. Where? Waking, dream, deep sleep. Knowledge is possible only of what, sir? Only three states knowledge possible. Waking, dream, deep sleep. Because anything you go in the world, there are three only. Everything in the world is three. There is a knower, there is known, there is knowledge. Creation, maintenance, destruction. Waking, dream, deep sleep. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. You can go anywhere. Every dimension you go, there are three in the world. Everything is three in the world. That's what even in Christian, this one they say. The Father in heaven, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Three. All that is represented by this mantra Om. Therefore, this Om became such an important sound. And don't think this sound is belonging to India or Hindus. There's another big misunderstanding we have. As though we think this is belonging only to the Hindus, it doesn't belong to others. In fact, no, it has many, and it had been referred also by many names. In fact, they say it is also Om is represented as Bija, is also referred as Pranava, is also referred as Shabda Brahman or Nada Brahman. So there are, each place they use different names referring to the same thing. And don't think it is only in India we use this word. It has been used everywhere. Like in English language also we say, what is God? God is explained as omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, etc. And this man, this great Ramatirtha, he explains. He says, if you Muslim, people come to meet him, he receives those people saying, Om. They ask him, why do you receive us saying Om? He says, because your Quran says that. They say, what? We have all, we are all scholars in that. Now, where in Quran it says? Yes, the starting itself is with Om only, it says. How? Yeah. There, in the beginning of Quran, you find the 3 letters, no? Alif, Lam, Mim. There are 3 letters. Alif, Lam, and Mim. A-L-M. They say, sir, A-L-M is Alam only. How is Om? Because Om has to be what? A-U-M or A-O-M. How come A-L-M becomes Om? He says, according to Arabic grammar, whenever this lam were to appear between a vowel and a consonant, this is Arabic grammar, okay? It's not created by me. It's there in the grammar. Whenever this letter, lam, were to appear between a vowel and a consonant, it is supposed to lose its original form and take the sound of wow, called Arabic pesh. Those who know Arabic can go and check it out. I checked it out because I studied Arabic in school, in university, college. I went and checked with my, Arabic professor. I said, is it so? He said, yes. I didn't ask him. Why? Because that's why when we learn, first thing we learn in our school, in our college is that whenever we learned Arabic, first thing we learned, all of us, is to write our names in Arabic language. I tried to have my signature also in that, but I couldn't get it properly, so I just left it. Otherwise, I was so interested because it looks very different. The signature will go in a different way. We usually write like this. I thought, why don't we put a signature in the reverse order? But it was very interesting. When I saw one of my friend, whose name was Karimuddin, right? When he was asking to write in Arabic, letter by letter when we read, it said Karim Aladdin is how he wrote. He wrote lam there, but he said it should be pronounced as wow. O sound has to come in. That O sound has to come in. O or O sound will come. He says, now you apply the rule here. What is it now? Lam, which is appearing between a vowel and this consonant. Therefore, it should be pronounced as what now? Arabic pesh. Therefore, what is it, sir? He says that is Om only, no. Fascinating analysis. These masters, unbelievable they are. All that it shows is what? Nobody can claim ownership towards the sound. Remember that. The problem we have is that as though we think it belongs to a particular region or a particular set of people. No. This sound is universal sound. That's why we have this, even in Greek language, they use this, our last letter, omega. Beyond that, there is nothing. That's the last one. In every language, we have used it. Remember this. Then when we come to the mantras, there are 3 types of mantras, they say. These people classify everything under these 3 categories. You say sound, 3 categories, they will say. Color, 3 categories, they will say. Animals, 3 categories, they will say. Everything 3 categories for these guys. What is it, sir? Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. There are mantras which were all sattvic in nature, There are mantras which are all rajasic in nature, and there are mantras which are tamasic in nature. Now, the rajasic mantras means the mantras which were most exciting ones. It excites you. It will excite a person. Now, don't ask me which mantra all those things are, okay? That's not my job. I'm not going to tell you what are those mantras. There are certain mantras which are those that excite you, those things manifest the power. Certain powers in the system will get its expression through the mantras. Then you have certain mantras which would invoke the base powers, the lower powers, invoking those things, base powers of nature, the lower powers of nature. There are certain mantras to invoke that also. Then you have the mantras which are of quite purely spiritual type, which makes the mind quieter. The chanting of that mantra will make the mind quiet, calm. That is called the sattvic mantras. Mantras can be all three. There are mantras, so when you are learning the mantras, most of us, without our knowledge, will be studying only the sattvic mantras only. We are not going to be touching upon the other mantras. But whether it is a sattvic mantra or a rajasic mantra or a tamasic mantra, all the three mantras you have to start with the chanting of Om only. Now you can't be dropping this Om. We don't have that option. So Om has all this representations. Therefore, in every mantra chanting, we start with Om. And there are people who use only Om. Who is supposed to be, sir? Traditionally, the sannyasis were supposed to be chanting Om. That's all. Others are not supposed to be practicing Om alone. Only for the sannyasis they have this Pranava Upasana. Then when you are practicing the chanting, there are various methods of doing it. Okay. There are people who do certain mantras. The efficacy of the mantra is possible only when you say it. You have to utter. Only by the utterance, with the sound only, actually there is effect. Then there are mantras which are supposed to be chanted only as a murmuring. That's very effective, they say. It's far more effective, that is. Then you have the Manasika. Vachikam, Upamsu and Manasika. There are the three things. We don't worry about the words. Okay. Three. One is what? Vachika means sound, which audible to others. You chant in such a way that others can hear the chanting. That much audibility is there. Second one is you just murmur within yourself. Then of course there are various variations you can give in that. Variations in the sense you can chant only with the movement of lips. Then you can hold the lips together. Lips don't move, but your tongue moves. Then what is it, sir? Only the subtle vibrations of the tongue, the movement happens. When you can stop even the vibrations of the tongue, then it becomes Manasika. The chanting continues. There are various methods there. Loud, then what, sir? You are closing the mouth, but you are just moving the lips. 2, 3, moving the tongue. Lips are closed, lips are not moving, the tongue is moving. 4, tongue is subtly vibrating. It's not moving, it's just a subtle vibration. 5th one, that is also stopped, but you are mentally chanting it louder. Then mentally chant softer. Then the chanting stops. These are the 6 stages. The six stages in which you have to do your chanting. Now, I am not recommending any one of that. I am not saying, which one is. I am only telling you what are the various options available, how much they have studied about it. That's all. Now, I am not recommending any one of it. So, the chanting can be done this. Then they say this Pranava chanting. Now, there is another question people always ask. Sir, can women chant Om or not? They say no, it is not recommended. Yes, it is not recommended for women to chant Om. Why is it not recommended? Don't think immediately there is some weird ideas we get. Immediately, one group of people start saying, "Oh, this is suppressing women." One group of people shout. Another group of people start interpreting all these things, saying there is something it will be having on their physical body. We don't care. Right? Immediately there is a group of people who say, it's nothing of those things, please. The thought association with Om is what? What happens when you keep on associating with that thought? What is the thought association in Om? Where is your focus? Always the focus goes towards what? Towards silence, towards Brahman, towards, which means slowly the person will get detached from the affairs of the world. That is why a sannyasi is recommended to chant that mantra Om. Why? Because he has decided his life is to get detached from the world. Right? So, he has to practice it. Now, imagine the lady were to start chanting Om, what will happen? She will get detached from the affairs. Her first detachment will be from what? That's where the problem is. That's all. Suppose if you say that my life is to get detached, then we don't mind. Okay. Anybody can chant Om. There is no problem in that. Right. That's why we tell people, don't associate too much with these Vedantins. Vedanta fellows, don't get too involved with those guys. They are dangerous fellows. Why? That fellow, he is interested to get detached from the world. So you go and associate with him more, what will happen to you also? You have to do your business. You have your family. You have your social circle. This guy will make you detached from all those things. Afterwards, what will happen to you? You will have nothing with you. You are neither here nor there. You will be left with in no man's land. Therefore, we don't recommend people to be associating with these people. Why? External association with those people, sannyasis and sadhus and all those people. When I say Vedantin, I meant those people only. Only they are Vedantins. Okay. When I use the word Vedantin, what I meant is that sannyasi is the one who is not interested. You see, he is not interested in the worldly things. Now, you associate with him more, what will happen? You will also start thinking. Now, do you have that as the mission of your life? If you say that the mission of my life is to get away from all these things, to get back to the self, then associate. If not, go, fall at their feet, take their blessings, come back. Don't establish an association with them. You establish association with them, you should be prepared to get it. And then your family will say what? That's why today a lot of problems we see in the world. If the husband is attending these Vedanta sessions, wife says what? Useless. If wife is attending the Vedanta class, husband says what? Useless. Why? Somewhere down the line, we are not intelligently managing our things. Of all that, this practicing the chanting of Om will make your mental framework more and more detached, more and more Vairagya will come into you. More and more Vairagya coming when you are in the world is dangerous, not advisable. That's all. Don't think, some, weird ideas we have. When you chant, some chakra will get activated, nothing will get activated. Remember that. It's all this is what we, this is an illusory belief. It's not real. So don't fall into the trap, please. This is what is referred as, we call it as placebo effect. It's not that, please. You must have heard about it, therefore it is happening to you. If you have never heard it, nothing will happen to you. So don't take it up. Women were not recommended. When we say men also not recommended. Those who are in the Grihasthashram, those who are in the world, those who are having involvement with the world, those who are having the things to do in the world, those who have the desires, those who have their things to perform, they are still having value for these things. For those people, it is not recommended to practice this Pranava Upasana. Why, sir? Not because of some mystical, some vibrations and all those things, please. The practice of that, why that practice will come, sir? Because of the thought association. Suppose if you say, Ishwaran, I am doing that Om chanting, but I am not having any thought association, then it is as good as uttering any sound. You can say that also is the same effect it will have. You can go on making any sound. It will not create anything in you. At best, what it will create, sir? It will give you some solace, which is what we call as the placebo effect. Like that fellow who is having a high temperature fever keeps uttering, that's all. He will get some relief as it were. That's about it. But it will not have any impact on your personality. Therefore, it is not recommended. Don't think it is for some weird, vibrations and all that. That's not the reason. Now we see the basic idea of Om. Then we take few mantras and see how those mantras have a meaning. I'm not going to get into the intonational aspect of the mantra, because intonational aspect of the mantra will vary from person to person, because it depends on how you are going to be uttering that and how you have the feel for it. If you can't have a feel, nothing can be done. Like the moment we use the word India, we feel differently. To a Pakistani, the word India is what? It's a different feel. To a German, India is what? A different feel. Now each one will get different feel for the same sound. The sound we don't have to worry about. I can't do anything about that part. But what we can deal with is certain very, very popular mantras. So I'll see you tomorrow. Hari Om.